my life. If that's you thinking, absolutely right. Yeah, so I find it quite really difficult to prepare this talk, really, because in a way, mindfulness is very hard. Isn't it? Becoming mindful in our life is very hard, and it's one of the essential ingredient you can have for your spiritual life. So it's not easy to cultivate. So in a way, I took as an opportunity to just dwell on it. And since actually Artha Siddhi asked me to talk about mindfulness, in a way I followed these patterns. There wasn't much chanda, interest. There was a little interest, as I'm a Buddhist. Anyway, I'd like to introduce as well. My name is Sanghanath, and I was born in India. And I came to UK 16 years ago. I've been living in UK, and I've been living and practicing with the Three Ratna, and I became order in 2008. So yeah, there was interest in me, something about spiritual life and fascination about spiritual life, wanting to live life fully or meaningful and so on. So in a way there was interest. So since I given this topic, I was quite interested. I was taking more steps how I can cultivate interest more and more. So I was meeting Artha Siddhi, I was meeting people who have a good understanding about mindfulness, people who practicing mindfulness. I was meeting them, I was reading, cultivating a sense of interest in me. And I must say, if you do like that, it does, our interest, our fascination about something like that increases, isn't it, gradually. And you end up with having some kind of success, you success in something. But what I thought today, start with...
Okay, just for the Zoom crowd.
Okay. Great. To just start with, remembering Thich Nhat Hanh, really, because he's much more in our memory this week, isn't he? He died last week, and in a way, most of Buddhist world, Buddhist people who committed to Buddhist path are remembering Thich Nhat Hanh. And I really moved by his work as well. And anyway, I've been thinking a lot about Thich Nhat Hanh this week, and I've been following his not all, but most of memorials online. I was listening his talks, and in a way, his pace is very close to me this week. It just feels like I am with Thich Nhat Hanh this week. And in a way, he's the greatest example, isn't he? One of the greatest example how life should be, living should be meaningfully or purposefully, full of purpose, his life. And in a way, we're so lucky, people like him existed in this world, in our time, someone who really dedicated their life to discover the Dhamma and practice the Dhamma. And look what happened, he has influenced so many people in the world. Yeah. And in a way, when I was thinking about this, these 5 Vinayatas, the first thing is a chanda come to my mind, and Thich Nhat Hanh tells this story. Yeah. When he was 7 or 8 years old, he said, I saw Buddha's image, Buddha's image in Vietnam. And as soon as he saw Buddha's image, he thought he was really fascinated by Buddha's face, Buddha's kind face, Buddha's whole being, kind of image as a body. He thought he was very interested, very fascinated as a boy. And in a way, since then, Thich Nhat Hanh said, I wanted to become monk. Yeah? He said, I really wanted to become monk, seeing that image. I went and tell my parents, I want to be monk, as parents didn't really respond it well, But anyway, look at, his chanda, his passionation from 7 or 8 years old about Buddha's image never die away. He kept thinking about Buddha. He kept remembering Buddha in his mind. He lived Buddha really. He really cultivated that sense of purpose in life and see what happens. He is full of dedicated being. He's full of remembrance. He really recollected himself. He really gathered himself, around his purpose, around that fascination of Buddha and Buddha's life, and really steady focus. Really practice samadhi, steady focus, and full of wisdoms. He cultivated full of wisdoms. He can more. There are so many wisdoms. His understanding about mindfulness and so on. So in a way, his greatest example of these 5 vinayatas, what these vinayatas can do. And for me, I think just it's happened to be me giving talk, and he's dying this week. I just feel really remembering he will do something for us, tonight. Just kind of thinking about him will ignite something in us about mindfulness. He's really into mindfulness. He promoted mindfulness and peace, and what mindfulness can do to people's lives. Yeah. So really, very much I stuck by Thich Nhat Hanh's life and his dedication, and just a reminder of life. What you can do with your mind, what you can achieve in your life. Just kind of an excellent reminder he was really. So yeah, I just very much wanted to just kind of pay that gratitude. Really, start with about Thich Nhat Hanh. But yeah, look at a little bit, because since we are talking about Shantideva and Bodhisattva, Bodhicaryavatara, we can have a look at some of Shantideva's verses as well today. But I'd like to try this talk more, if I can, practical, more personal if I can today. But let's just look at a little bit, just like what is actually smriti. Yeah, I also wrote there a Sanskrit word. You might not understand, but smriti. It's a very beautiful word actually in Sanskrit, smriti. And smriti means often translated as a mindfulness, but literally means recollection or remembering. To achieve our purpose, we need to remember it, to keep it in mind. We need to just remember. We have to gather together again and again. We have to remember our purpose and bring together ourselves. Yeah? So literally meaning is kind of recollection or remembering. Yeah. And samadhi, as Yeshudhaka said, is a one-pointed, often used to mean the focused awareness. We can achieve in meditation, but also in this context can just mean focus. To achieve any object, need to focus our mind. So it's kind of really focusing, steady mind. Yeah, and you can really reflect on Thich Nhat Hanh, how his mind was really focused, one single-minded kind of focus since he's 7 or 8 years old. Yeah. Samadhi is a very interesting word as well. Actually, I grew up in India, and samadhi often means also is meditation and so on, but also is used for memorials or burials, in cremation ground. So often I used to actually hear samadhi means like when people died and you buried them, and that's called samadhi in India, which is very interesting. So in a single point, you can't go anywhere. You have to be there after that. So it's very interesting connection with samadhi there. And there is another word called sati samprajanya. It's also another way of looking at samadhi. So sati is a Pali word for smriti. It's called recollecting what we are doing now. It's kind of recollecting or connecting right now, what you're doing now, what you're doing right now. And samprajana is overall purpose of your life, or continuity of purpose of your life. And sometimes very interesting, they go sometimes Samprajanya comes first as well in some cases, and sometimes Sati comes second. It's something like if you have a sense of purpose in your life, then recollection comes naturally. If you have purpose in your life, it's like maybe could be like Thich Nhat Hanh. He has a sense of purpose. He knew what he wanted to do, and then something about focus and recollection, remembering comes quite natural. So sometimes they comes first and second as well. There's no sequence, I think, but just interesting to reflect on. If you have a sense of purpose in life, then everything follows, to that purpose, and you can try to dedicate your life towards that vision for your life. But in many ways, it's a very simple thing, kind of remembering it. How do you remember things? We need reminders, always. We need reminder again and again to focus our life towards our purpose and direct our energy towards to single-pointed vision. So that's kind of Sati and Samprajanya means in this context. And in this context, we're really trying, you could talk about this in also context as well, So for example, recollection is often about waking up to the fact that you has strayed away from where you really want to be. Recollection is about you are setting on the path, but you're not on the path. You are away from path. You forgot to be on the path. Sometimes it's reminding you, come back, Sanghanath. This is your commitment. This is your commitment to Sangha night, going to Sanghanath every week. This is your commitment to giving talk today. You forgot to come. Artha Siddhi called me, where are you, Sanghanath? So it's kind of, recollecting is about, actually you decided to do something, you decided to be on the path, you decided if I want to live life like this, easy to forget. It's very common, it's very natural, isn't it? Easy to forget. And recollecting is asking you, you're realizing I'm actually away, far away from my commitment, and reminding myself, you are there. Yeah, that's also recollecting. And Samadhi also, I think Samadhi is easy to misunderstood as well. Samadhi means can be people just have a misunderstanding, just really focus, not considering what's happening around you. Yeah. So really, Samadhi also used for the purpose of Samadhi is also just staying with it. What's happening with you, whatever it is with you, you are trying to stay with it. Either you are angry or feeling nervous or stress, anxiety, happiness, enjoyness. You're asking Samadhi ability to develop ability to stay with it, what it is. And if we can able to stay with it, there's a good chance we can transform these mental states. Yeah. And if we can't stay with it, then we can't really transform these mental states. So kind of Samadhi is also kind of asking you to stay with it, whatever it is going on in your life. So Samadhi doesn't mean just one, it's a single-minded, but also has a overall purpose, Samprajanya, what your life is all about. Yeah. So that's one thing I wanted to add in Samadhi. But then actually Shantideva, what he's trying to get out from here is how our minds are very central to our life. Yeah, what you do with your life is really important. What you do with your time and energy, it's very important. He's really trying to understand, get this point come across. The mind is so precious. The human life is so precious. So what you do with your life is so important, So, it's kind of interesting to just kind of reflect on what we do with our life, what I do with my life, how do I spend my time, daily life, how much I sleep, what I do with my mobile all the time, what I do when I'm with my friends, or how I think, what I actually do with my life. and often is not very creative, really. I just feel like, how much time I waste in my life, and that's all what we do with our minds. That all has impact on our samadhi, ability to focus, ability to remember our purpose. Yeah. So Shantideva was really trying to, really asking how important it is to train our mind. Yeah. If we don't train our mind, if we don't direct these energies towards to one single pointed purpose, then mind just scatters around. Yeah. Samadhi is like Samadhi is really trying to put together, scattered Sanghanath, is put together, bring together becoming one Sanghanath, so I can channelize my energy, time, whatever I do, going into one direction. Yeah. So really, Shantideva was asking to train our mind and what we do with your mind. It's very important. I just Google it actually, what people do with their time in life, and just mind-blowing some facts came up. I will just read some of them actually, and just see what you think. And it's according to one survey, and it's in consider of one lifespan. So if you live for 75 years, this is how people spend their life. So marketing research says it's like 2.5 years you spend in shopping. If you live, 75 years, 8.5 years you spend on shopping. It's quite interesting. There's one study says 150 times we check our phones. So phone every 6.5 minutes, which makes 150 times in 16 hours we check our phones. In 2013, a study found that on average, teenagers in USA, 13 years of age, spend 6.5 hours a week playing video game. Yeah, 5 years surfing internet. If you live for 75 years, 5 years, we spend just searching on internet. That's a lot of time we spend. Could be more, nowadays. It's very fascinating. This one, according to one study, a child born in 2013 will have spent an entire year of his or her life in front of screen by the time he or she is turned 7. My son is now 4 years old. I'm so scared, how much time is spent on screen. That's mind-boggling, even like 7 years old, he or she will spend like 1 year time, screen time. Yeah, that's a lot of time. 11 years watching television. People, we all do, don't we? We just watch television 11 years. That's if we count that. 5 minutes complaining. It's not much really, but 5 minutes complaining just about services. If you go to a cafe or if you go to a restaurant, you just kind of really complaining about things. Yeah. And one of these, according to surveys, 7 years of their lives lying awake in the bed at night, waiting to fall asleep. So in a way, it's very interesting. It's a question for us, isn't it? How we spend our time in our life. Even so, that really gives us idea how our mind is scattered, in doing things also. So, yeah. But what Smriti and Samprajana is asking you, then when you're going to gather yourself, how are you going to gather your energies together, on one pointed force for life? How are we going to create that one? So in a way, we have to probably, letting go of a few things. I really, when I came to UK in 2005, I never had a phone, and in a way, my life I felt so enjoyable, talking and socializing since mobile, and smartphone came, how much I spend time on mobile is mind blowing. How much I spend time on my mobile, So in a way, I'm trying to really get this point: is what we do with our life, time and mind, is really matters. Yeah, Shantideva was really trying to get that point come across here. I'd like to read a little bit Shantideva, what Shantideva also says, one thing here. So he's talking about, if you don't train your mind, you will just, untrained mind will do a lot of damage to your life. Yeah. So he's really asking to train our mind. So he says, it is just not possible to practice the Dhamma without keeping a careful guard on the mind, which wanders so easily. The wandering mind is like the wandering mind is like an untamed elephant in rut, and it causes more chaos. Unless we watch it carefully, it will plunge us into hell. But if, like an elephant, we tether the mind with the ropes of mindfulness, then we will be safe and happy. So the elephant is a great image, actually, isn't it? I don't know if you've seen elephant. It's a very powerful animal, so has a big presence of elephant. And elephant is often has a significant in our Buddhism, his sense of purpose, and he's steady and so on. Powerful, he can do powerful things. But if elephant is not trained, or I don't know if you've ever seen when elephant gets mad, it destroy everything. I have seen this in India when I was a kid. There was one occasion, an elephant was mad in one of the ritual. They organized festival in a Jain community, and elephant was got mad. Whole village was just awake, whole night, trying to calm down this this elephant. So in a way, if we don't train our mind, we can also do things like that. We can destroy things, if we're not careful about our mind. But at the same time, I think mind has a power as well. Mind can do great things if we train our mind. Yeah, it can do many, many things, great things. Yeah, good. So there's a lot of verses I want to probably read today. But let's a little bit talk, because time is often running out. So just want to last in the few minutes, I really want to talk about this. It's all good, isn't it? Mindfulness is good, how to remember is good. But how to cultivate the mindfulness? How to cultivate the mindfulness? That's really important. We need something that we can dwell on. We need something that help us to remember or gather us together or be mindful. There's so many techniques nowadays in how to be mindful and so on. So many techniques are there. But let's see what Shantideva says about how do you train mindfulness. So the first thing, really, if we want to be more mindful, our great condition for mindful, we really need to be wholeheartedly, practicing. We need to have our heart behind this mindfulness. It's a bit like a chanda, really. We need to crave. We're really wanting to be mindful. We want to be living life purposefully, yeah. Because if we don't have that kind of passion, interest, it's very difficult to cultivate that sense of mindfulness. So really, firstly, we're really wanting to do this. We really want to be mindful. We want to be like a Buddha. Like Thich Nhat Hanh saw that image, and he really fascinated. He wanted to be like a Buddha, become monk. We wanted to become like a Thich Nhat Hanh. We want to be like someone you really look up to in your community, in your friendship, or in someone who feels you are mindful. We kind of that how we wanting to live life fully if we can, and purposefully. So that's one thing. Firstly, we really want to cultivate that sense of wanting, then mindfulness probably will carry on. But Shantideva makes another very interesting point, I think, which is around teacher. Yeah, he says mindfulness comes easily to those who are lucky enough to live with their teacher and practice under their guidance, if they have great respect for his good opinions. Yeah, so I found very interesting, because if you have a teacher, mindfulness comes easily. Yeah, but if you don't have a teacher, it's hard. Yeah, but it doesn't mean, I mean, if you have a teacher, that would be fantastic. Yeah, I don't think we have to worry too much, but this is one condition Shantideva is saying. If you have a teacher, if you have a guidance of your teacher, you have a respect for teacher, you have a connection with your teacher, the mindfulness comes easily. Yeah, so, and you can see actually that one, I think if, I don't know if you have I mean, that's whole thing about my ordination, for example. That's why we have ordination in Triratna. Yeah, when I am ordaining, I have a private preceptor, Arthapriya is here, and that relation comes through years of kind of friendship. It doesn't come easily. Yeah, there is a more trust on Arthapriya or my public preceptor Mahamati, also my faith in Bhante Sangha who founded this organization, the Triratna, my faith in Dr. Ambedkar, his work and his vision for life, and I think if I have more that sort of devotion, faith in teacher, there's something about happens in our life, isn't it? We find we kind of attracted to become like them. Yeah, we're likely to be receptive to them. Yeah, even though sometimes very hard, but we're likely to be more receptive because they are our teacher. And if you have that sense of connection with teacher, and if you're lucky enough to live with them, I was lucky enough to live with Arthapriya. I was lucky enough to meet Bhante Sangha. You probably have a sense of, you probably met Bhante Sangha as well. Or any teachers you think you have, lucky enough to stay with them. Then you can get a little sense how that impacts in our mind, how that impacts in our path of spiritual path, how that helps us to gather together, how that helps to understand something about Buddha or Dhamma. Yeah. So something about teacher, really emphasizing Shantideva. If you have a teacher or under guidance of your teacher, you will find mindfulness quite easy. And it's very interesting to reflect on Thich Nhat Hanh again, how his disciples, how we have created this whole community of Plum Village, and even like Bhante Sangha, how he has actually created this order in 30-40 countries nowadays. Yeah, and it's come up out of this kind of guidance and reverence to the teacher. Yeah, so it's very interesting. But Shantideva was saying, if you don't have a time to spend time with your teacher, that's fine. You can reflect, you can recollect about Buddha, for example. Yeah, I have a friend in India. He's older member. He used to travel village to village, and when he traveled village to village, he didn't have any friends around him. His teachers are not around. His spiritual friends are not around. But he went meditate. What he used to do, he had a one meditation cushion for him, mat, and he used to put one meditation cushion in front of him, and he used to meditate. And somebody asked him, why do you put this meditation cushion in front of you? And then he said, look, because my teachers, my friends, not in front of me, so I always imagine my teacher is sitting in front of me, practicing with me. Yeah. So I found it quite interesting how you can imagine creatively, you can engage with your teacher. And if we can do that, then probably the good chance the mindfulness and the sense of purpose in our life might come easily. Yeah? So that's one thing I really found interesting about Shantideva saying about teacher. It was something that we don't really talk very much about when things come to mindfulness. Yeah, I don't think we really talk. So I like sometimes talking about what conditions leads to you to become more mindful. And one of these conditions could be, the teacher. Under teacher's guidance, the mindfulness comes easily. The other thing I wanted to just say, be part of the mindful community. Just like this, really. I found meditating with others much easier, because we have a sense of purpose, aren't we? We're all together to support each other. So if we have a sense of mindful community, we are part of the community, then there is a good chance we feel more integrated and we can learn from each other. I learn a lot from, my friends. I can inspire by Priyadhaka's example. He can inspire by my example. We can help each other. We can guide each other. Yeah. So having a community is so, I think, one of these very important thing in my life. I think when I was a child, I come across Buddhism quite early on, actually, when I was 7 or 8 years old. And then I started meditating quite early as well when I was a teenager. And partly because of the community I come across, the people reach to my village, they come to my village to teach Buddhism and meditation. And in a way, since then, community is a big part of the India anyway, but we're talking about more mindful community and spiritual community. So if you be part of this community, in a way, we have to put more energy to be part of the community, so the mindfulness might come easily in my experience. And what I find very interesting is actually, I can't see without having a community how I could have come to this point in my life, living a bit more wisely, not very wisely, but a bit more wisely, yeah. How I could have found this path without contacting friends or people reaching my house, yeah, my home to me. So the community is very, very powerful, I think, powerful tool for mindfulness. If we want to live life fully, purposefully and integrated and in Samadhi, want to cultivate the sense of Samadhi and direction of life, community is so important. And I think we can relate to each other. I think working alone, our mind is so hard. We need help, don't we? We really need help in our life to encourage each other, to uplift each other. It's very, very important. So yeah, be part of the mindful community if we can. If we can, commit more to Sangha nights, Dhamma nights. Trying to discover what's this all about in a community. Would be easily to do that mindfully. Yeah, and something about sense of urgency. Sense of urgency. I want to share with one thing really. When I was in 2008, I was ill. I had a pneumonia, and I was in hospital, and I was really ill. I was in intense care, and I was just young, like 23, 22 years old, and I was in this country. I left my home country, India, and one of the kind of loneliest experience I can experience in the hospital. And but that same time, also I felt very close to what life is about, kind of questioning, yeah. Sense of close to Buddha, if you like, close to Dhamma, the truth. And also I really felt kind of focused in my prayers, if you like. My chanting was powerful when I was ill. My mind, my consciousness sort of kind of naturally was going towards to this kind of faith in Buddha and Dhamma, if you like. It's kind of sense of urgency. I have kind of, I thought maybe this is the end of my life, And because of that sense of urgency, I felt quite focused, if you like. Also, fearful and, also emotions, fearful and so on, different. But there's one thing I actually find out. I was feeling a bit more integrated in some ways. I was more connected with Buddha than before, if you like. And also sense of community, people coming to see me, looking after me, and so on. So I feel actually community is so important as well. So something about sense of urgency in life will bring us a bit more together to do more mindful moment. I will read few verses of Bodhicaryavatara, and hopefully we'll have a bit more short groups to talk together. Yeah, he talks about if we don't keep our mindfulness, what will happen to all our others' vows and precepts? Just as sick man isn't fit for any work, so as a distracted mind can't do anything useful. It is like a leaky jug, nothing that is heard, reflecting upon, or developed in meditation stays in it. So if we don't have a fit mind, we can't really do very much. It's a bit like if you don't have your body is not if your body is ill, you do very little, isn't it? So we have to have a fit mind. Undistracted mind can't do anything, really. And honestly, I think I can tell you I'm so distracted, And in a way, I was reflecting on my earliest memories of meditation when I got involved in India. And in a way, when I learned meditation in India, I was living in a village and very little good conditions. Even we didn't have cushions for meditation. You can tiniest blanket you can find, you can just fold it and you can meditate. Very hard surface, But there was a bit kind of interest in the beginning and inspiration. So in a way, I have experienced a lot of a sense of focus that time, in meditation. We meditate in a very dirtiest thing you can imagine in the whole. Used to put this blanket on floor. If you can do this, the whole dust will go, And in a way, we meditate in like that situation. And in a way, in some ways, when I reflect on early memories, I experienced, felt it so easy to meditate. Because the mind was so inspired by, there was inspiration. And now I think I got so perfect conditions. I got two mattresses sometimes I use. I have carpets. But mind sometimes can't concentrate. Mind just wandering around and here and there. It's so interesting to just how mind works, how much our mind is kind of, it's not very much external condition. External condition is so important, but when you reflect on, if you connect with your mind, inspiration, what that can do. So very interesting. I was giving talk recently. I was reflecting on my early experience of getting involved with Buddhism. Was much more satisfying. But now I feel like, sometimes it's very difficult to meditate, even having really good conditions, no noise around at all. So it's very interesting. Yeah, I don't have much time to talk about a little bit more personal stories really with my, how I practice as a parent. I got son who is now 4 years old, and just seeing him growing, what that helps, what that brings in me. I don't have much time, but maybe another time. I will read the last verses, and maybe we will have a maybe short groups. Yeah, just Shantideva's last couple of verses. So Shantideva was really encouraging us, whatever situation we are in, we should make it part of our training. Every activity is a spiritual practice for the person who acts like this. Yeah, so every situation can be opportunity to do mindfulness. I mentioned my son. When he's not in the night, when he's not going to bed, I can get very annoyed or angry or frustrated, thinking that oh, if you don't go to bed early, then I won't have time for meditation later on. Yeah, but If I turn my mind, this is meditation now, Sanghanath. You can work on your mental state. You can find kindness to you. You can engage with him, whatever it is happening with you. That's a meditation. That's a mindfulness. So really, Shantideva is encouraging every situation can be a person to train your mind. Yeah. And last one, he said in conclusion, in brief, mindfulness means observing the body and the mind at every moment. We need to actually put this into practice and not just talk about it. When you are sick, what use it just to read medical textbook? Yeah. When you're sick, what use of just kind of reading the medicine? You have to take medicine, really. Yeah. So really, we're just really encouraging, put in practice if you can, including all of us, really. So I think we should stop. It's 10 past 9, and it would be good to have just like a 10 minutes discussion group. Whatever talk you want to discuss tonight, or maybe I would suggest you. I mean, I can suggest a couple of questions, but you don't have to stick. You can find your own questions or whatever you want to talk. Yeah. Well, the first question is really, for me, it's like a conditions very important. What conditions leads you to be more mindful? Yeah. What condition leads to you to be more mindful? So maybe we can reflect on that one. Or maybe you have some examples in your life, where you feel very focused. Yeah. You feel more integrated or you're more single-minded. You can also talk about that one. What are the examples from your own life? And also it's important to what's your attitude to your practices. It's not about hard and fast. Samadhi doesn't mean forcefully. It has to be natural. So it's also our attitude towards to practice. What attitude we bring to our life, our practices, or meditation. Or you could take even precepts for this week. You could say, actually, I will take one thing this week I can work on, try to do every day, like a meditation every day. Or maybe I will commit to come to Sanghanath every week. Or maybe at least next week I can commit to come and see if I can do that. So you can discuss whatever you want to do, but these are my suggestions. So I'd like maybe next 10 minutes, maybe just get maybe four people in group, 4 or 5 people, and just discuss.